humanity and the black people. Today, we really want to discuss, uh, just want to address the world we're living in right now. We've been quarantining, wearing masks, hand sanitizer, social distancing, and just adjusting to what this new normal is for us in today's society while we're living in a pandemic. And what we found that the pandemic has caused a lot of changes. Some may be permanent, but one thing for sure, we know that the economic disruption of the pandemic has been brutal to Americans. With mass unemployment, major slowdown of transportation. That's business travel, leisure, but also the transportations of goods and services in this country. That's been highly affected. And who knows how, if they may forever be affected. And, there are tens of millions of people who are at risk of falling into expansive poverty. Now, we're talking about right now, there's currently an estimated nearly 690 million people that are at the poverty line, and it could go up another 132 million people. Uh, that's a large number of people, and not only the economic disruptions that are present from the pandemic, there are psychological and social impacts that come from this pandemic. And we're just going to take a look at these issues today and provide practical answers to these pandemic problems using agriculture. Believe it or not, agriculture answers a lot of problems. We have kids that are home, people out of work, uh, with the new Zoom, video chatting is becoming the new normal now. And there's a way that we can address all of these psychological, social, economic issues using agriculture. So we got a lot of good things to put on your plate today. Go ahead, Farmer Brown. Let's give them a little bit for their daily bread.
10 minds, 20 hands, 20 feet. Get it how you live. That's the code of the street. Get it with my team. Waiter, please reserve a section. The fam gotta eat. Now we at the table flexing. I don't speak losses. Me no oblate poverty. Resonate with bosses about assets and property. Contextualize properly what it means to get it. Wage solidarity, 10 toes committed. Equal stake, democratic agreement. Map it out on paper, then build it up from the cement. Risks go down when you spread them around like 5 civilized tribes building up a mound. Enter cooperation, all in together. Business model G6, flying any weather. Fill the pool with capital, business irrigation, social transformation, funding our liberation. Co-op. Peace, family. This is Farmer Brown MC checking in this morning. I've been just, kind of meditating. I've been talking with some elders, talking to some people. Shouts out to everything co-op, Mr. Oaks. And just this problem that you brought up, we'll frame it as a problem, but I think by the end of this conversation, I would hope that our listeners see the solutions. And this word cooperative, co-op keeps coming up when we think about the food security, when we think about the jobs, when we think about the sudden change from in-class to virtual, or the fluctuation between the two. Real quick, let me, before we dig in, I want to read the definition of cooperative and, something to touch upon. A cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned, democratically controlled enterprise. In other words, cooperatives are created by people who have a specific need and are willing to work together to operate and organize a company that will meet that need. B1 Ag is about how do we eat? As a people, how do we make sure going into the future, whatever it holds, that we're able to feed ourselves, feed our communities, feed our most vulnerable? Within that field, we've also identified that there are a lot of career and entrepreneurial opportunities. I think to address the immediate problem would actually create these entrepreneurial opportunities. But specifically, we got to revisit urban agriculture. We talk about farming. We talk about the value of growing food on your own, why we need to be healthy. But if I'm look out of my window every day and there's nothing but concrete around me, there's nothing but distressed properties, trash. You know, a lot of areas maintenance hasn't been kept up over the past few months. What is something that you can do that is available to you? One of the things with the cooperative, whether you're coming at it from a economic standpoint, fiat currency, social currency, sweat equity, there's values in being able to address these problems together. And the first example I'll give before I yield is simply, okay, we want to grow food in this area where there's a lot, there isn't a lot of grass. And so this will be an urban gardening system. This will be a unified, the same way McDonald's or Wendy's would franchise their burgers, their store, their four walls that sells hamburgers. There's ways to franchise, per se, urban garden operations within these distressed properties, whether you're in a rural community or urban. These are things that a cooperative can go in on together and buy cheaper. So say I want to be a hero and I want to save my hood and I just want to feed people. And I know that I can use these containers. With a 55-gallon container, I can grow a 55-gallon plastic container. I can grow up to 70 different plants, typically greens, you know, with the lighter leaves. But you can't save a whole hood with one barrel. And I know if I'm just, you know, I'm trying to buy this by myself, I'm trying to save the world by myself, it's going to cost me more versus if I have a cooperative of, say, 10 other individuals, 20 other individuals that realize the value of the more of these barrels we have that yield these leaves that people in our area eat, you know, the more we can sell if we're wanting to turn this into an enterprise, or the more we can feed if we want to feed. But there's a value in being able to identify these specific values and being able to seize upon them, move upon them in a cooperative effort.
Now there are now research is showing that there have been definite psychological and social impacts from the pandemic. It shows that the most exposed and impacted groups are children, college students, and also health workers. Now, those three groups: children, college students, and health workers, are more likely to develop, because of this pandemic, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and other symptoms of distress. Social distancing and the enhanced security measures have actually changed the way that people relate to each other. Relationship is actually being affected because of this pandemic and the social distancing and just the whole new social norm that we're being programmed with. And all of these issues can actually be addressed through agriculture. And it's very interesting because some of the psychological benefits of just gardening and growing something, first of all, you're getting some sun and some fresh air. That's one of the best things that you can do to combat the pandemic. If you are always stuck in the house, you need to get outside, get some sun, get some fresh air, let that vitamin D hit you. You know, there's things that we need. We're still a living organism. I know we live most of our lives online through TV screens, through touch screens and things like that, but we are organic living organisms, and we need things that organic living organisms need, air, fresh air, sunshine, things of that nature. Another thing is that gardening is nurturing. You know what I'm saying? Gardening is healing. You have to plant this seed, water it, make sure that it grows. There are intrinsic benefits that you get from that. There's also a different level of knowledge that you get, especially when you get back in touch with nature and its cyclical, the cyclical nature of nature and being back on nature's time and not just your cell phone or digital clocks. And also with the farming, it helps you to develop a growth mindset. Now, when I say a growth mindset, that means that you're constantly learning. Even if you just have a small garden, if you just have just a pot, if you just have a plant in a pot, it helps you to develop a growth mindset. You're constantly learning, and also it helps you to view setbacks instead of seeing setbacks as failures. With farming and gardening, because everything is not always going to go your way. But you'll also start to see these setbacks as learning opportunities. You see these setbacks and not as failures, but as opportunities for growth. You get knowledge. And also another big benefit of gardening during this pandemic, especially for, those with families, it provides an activity where the family can actually participate together. The pandemic has been it's been wrecking a lot of homes, a lot of divorces, a lot of families are breaking up during this pandemic. However, we could turn to agriculture to use this as a moment for families to bond, get closer, and also bridge generational gaps. And the business opportunities in agriculture can not only help heal generational gaps and bridge those, but also help create generational wealth. And so that'll lend over to economic benefits of agriculture during this pandemic. Farmer Brown, could you speak on that? Just let people know that, man. Hey, and this is what we're trying to preach to y'all: is that if you want the bag, you need to look to ag. If you're chasing the bag, please look at agriculture. Man, there's so much money sitting over. You grow your own money. Agriculture will give you the opportunity to literally grow your own money. So, Farmer Brown, could you please tell these people, man, about this big bag waiting over here in ag, just waiting for us to snatch it up?
You touched on a few points. So I like to brag and say I got memory like an elephant, so I'm gonna go piece by piece. First piece you brought up was about the socialization that we're going through right now. It was disheartening to me. My 2-year-olds, they walked back here in the office one day, and both of them had masks on. They knew how to put them on, and it was cute. We laughed about it, but in my mind, I'm like, because epigenetics is real. Epigenetics is the genes that you come from, say your mother and father, your grandparents, experiences they had. One of them might have fallen in water and had a traumatic experience. That's going to come through in the progressing genes. And so I don't even know why, but I'm scared to death of water, and it's because of an experience that somebody before you had. I'm watching in real time. I mean, what was it? March of last year, there was no such thing as walking around in a mask. Unless you were in China, we used to see those pictures of people with the smog walking around in masks. And so literally less than a full year later, in what we call North America, my 2-year-olds understand this concept of putting a mask on. I mean, they don't know the word safety. They don't know the word COVID. We're out here on a farm. To them, nothing really changed too much as far as knowing what's going on in the world. But for the fact, because they've seen mom, they've seen dad, they've seen grandparents, when they're out and about, they've seen other people with masks. That's become normal to them. I am a proponent. I have my questions about everything, but I understand, if it doesn't hurt anybody to just be precautious, hey, when I go in the store, I get it. Put this over your nose and your mouth. Whatever. I'm not any less of a person because of that. When we think of the longer impacts of this, because I'm like you, we can't be healthier than when we're in nature. That is affecting our bodies. And that's one of the reasons we're stressing the importance of we really got to get outdoors. There are clinical, I don't have it in front of me now, but there are clinical studies that show there's actually microbes and fungus in soil that literally helps you. Like if you're going through depression, it's antidepressants. No pharma. This is the original pharma. It's the antidepressants in soil. I can tell you when I'm working in the garden, when I was working out on the farm, that's some of the most peaceful space that you'll have as far as as far as your mind. I remember mowing. Sometimes I get in the zone. I'd be 4 or 5 hours just mowing, and I go slow just to watch every little detail. And it does. It gives you a very different perspective on life. It gives you a perspective of relationships between people and things and situations. Like you were saying, nothing always goes 100% right. If you can understand that on an intrinsic primal level through agriculture, through gardening, some of the things we go through in our homes make all the difference in the world. Tying to what you're saying about business. So as a whole, within North America, agriculture is a $1.7 trillion sector. $1.7 trillion, meaning this includes your ag production, processing, your marketing, your legal, all things ag, even the areas we don't think about. Out of this, I'll say black farmers, those are specifically farmers, not the vendors, nobody, just the farmers, only get 0.4% of the revenue. 0.4% of the 1.7 trillion that's generated annually. So what that tells me is, okay, and what I can tell you, only 1% of black farmers earn more than $1 million with their operation. These are primary operators. More than 79% earn less than 10,000. We had discussed this last program. But saying that to say, when we talk about the opportunities, I don't want to sell wolf tickets and say you'll just jump off the porch tomorrow and I'm certainly just going to be banking. But the opportunity I have, and as the elder brother Nuri Rashid told me, is like, what does your garden look like? I was glad that I could tell him what my garden does well. You know, there's always room for improvement. It's always room to expand, but I could honestly answer the elder, yeah, my garden does well, and I'm aware that it needs help. Once I've acknowledged that, then you apply that same towards business. And so just in my experience within my household, within my unit, so to counter this mask dynamic where we realize that our 2-year-olds are being socialized, counter this with the books that they read. That goes back to the Pudgy's book I had shown you a few shows back. If my son comes back here, I want you to know his new word. He can't say his name yet, but he can say Farmer Brown, Farmer Brown, Farmer Brown. So that means everything to me. And not only that, he can't talk yet, but when he goes outside, we have shovels by the door, you know, in the flower pots. They know, both he and his sister know to pick up the pitchers. They emulate watering. They pick up the shovels. And so saying that to say they're learning from this activity. I understand on an intrinsic level, and this goes back to intellectual property, we need content. You and I were talking before we get on this stream about we don't have any educational content with a strong Southern Georgia or Florida accent reading it. We don't have educational content that our kids in the East Coast are using with a strong Boston, New York, New Jersey accent. I can think about the hundreds of thousands of us. You know, we're elders. Like, we're kind of old in the game now. I do my hip hop. That's just my therapy. But these are actual lanes, because as we see education is changing, we see kids, our children are now at home learning in front of a computer. And so if we understand the value of hip hop and the entertainment value, how do we now make these connections when we think about co-ops? How do we make these connections with academically inclined people, with the people who know how to communicate? This becomes your next level of Rand McNally, your next level of Sesame Street. And the beauty of this, you know, we have this crabs in the bucket mentality within our community, man. You know, if you're successful, then I can't be successful. Hey, when we're getting 0.4%, whether we're talking about agriculture or anything, there's a why. And they say we represent 13% of the population. Oh, we have a long way to go before we should be tripping over each other. And this is the beauty of building. And the thing is, you have to start with the seed. This seed literally and proverbially in the garden. This is a great activity just through the programming you and I have done, the families we've met. These families come together. On B1 Ag, we try not to get too religious or preachy, but we see spiritual engagement when these families, because, you know, be honest, the parents are learning too. Exactly. Whenever I'm looking, you know, there's so many things I don't know about parenting. And so I realized, let me humble myself and just realize there's something to learn. And when you have this activity going on with gardening, food prep, agriculture, in the last 2 years, and you and I both know, I know at least 3 parents who have now started ag enterprises, whether it's
Yes.
value added, whether it's ice cream shops, whether it's selling books. This is what success looks like. You know, you and I, we don't necessarily pocket anything from this transaction, but this is proof that, okay, we're reaching demographics that the government, you know, the USDA, all the agencies that have these resources, we have a formidable means to reach these communities. And we know these communities exist all across America. There's a community just like ours in Atlanta. They talk different, might look different, but they care about their youth. They want their youth involved in interesting, unique activities that can lead to a job. This exists in Cali. It exists in Texas. It exists in Chicago. And there's already people doing work in these areas in each of these places I mentioned. And so once again, my optimism is the sooner we make this a part of our, if not daily, it should be daily, but the sooner we make this a part of our weekly conversation. Hey, babe, did you go out and water the garden this week? No, I didn't, but I'll take the kids out there with me. And those kids are taking these experiences on. It's easy for me to tell you because I experience it. But once you've experienced producing something, you've planted a seed or transplant and you've watched it grow, you are responsible for watering it, taking care of it. It inspires a different type of business acumen. It inspires a different type of patience. There's huge bags in agriculture. Like I said, you can get up to $30,000, $50,000 an acre. There's certain systems where that's feasible. It does require 35, 40 hours a week, right? Like I said, content creation, not just educational content. One of the things that keep farmers competitive is being able to get information. And so my day job as an extension agent, that's my job. And I, from the back end, I see the frequency of these relationships and these contacts. I don't contact nearly as many farmers as I could help with the information I have, simply because maybe they're not on Facebook. Maybe they're not on Gmail. Maybe they don't use text. And so these are all areas of improvement. And going back to what you were saying earlier, since we find ourselves in this precarious situation, this is the best time. This is the best excuse. Maybe a few years back, I could be like, no, I ain't getting into farming. That's what slaves do. But now we're in a situation where we see that our food system is very delicate. I'm not going to say it's in a crisis. I'm not going to say it's doing great. It's very delicate. We have a place in this dynamic. And this is the perfect opportunity to find a specific niche. Like we said earlier, storage is going to be very important in the months and years to come. Do we have buses? You go in these rural areas, you see all sorts of broken down buses, school buses. I also know you go in the hood, we got a lot of mechanics. We got people that just know how to put things together. We got people that know how to make engines work. They know how to refit structures and vehicles. We're going to need storage. We're going to need a huge bus, so to speak, that can go to this central hub in Chicago and then make it to Peoria, or make it from Peoria to Chicago, whatever's being grown here. We're going to need maybe two retrofitted, the retirement home buses that the elderly ride in. Maybe their company got a new one. And so we take we take what's already being used, is the point I'm getting at, and make it something. Take the dirt and turn it into gold. And there lies the economic value, the economic potential. I don't want to lead anybody wrong to say, hey, now if you follow these steps and reach out to the USDA or whoever these banks or financiers are, and you're going to get 100% outcome. I wouldn't promise that. I would say that there are people successful that can go through these avenues and succeed. Color is not always the issue, but I will say you have to have some sort of experience. And this is why starting your first garden yesterday is important. And this is a conversation we consistently need to have, because once again, we're planting for a future opportunity. Not only the unseen, unplannable opportunities just within you taking that first step, but once you've taken that first step, once you've made it a habit, once you've made it a part of your household culture. I go out, I turn up, I do what I do, spend X amount of hours at work, spend time with the family. I'm going to make sure I put in at least 3 hours out of my 7-day week in this garden. I know if I want it to be profitable, I'm going to have to put about 30. But just to start, I'm going to dedicate 3 hours. But it's all about the start. This is $1 trillion industry. We're horribly represented. And so, I mean, whatever great idea you can come up with, I know, for example, and I'm gonna shut up. There's a few brothers that have ag hip hop. DJ Cavum, he's in Colorado, and then you got Gardening with Goo. This is down in Florida. I mean, these brothers have great content. We hear I saw one of the rappers, what is Uzi Vert, got a diamond in his forehead, 24 million. I'm not here to pocket watch, but that's a lot of acres. Divide that 24 million divided by 3,000. We'll say average acre, 3,000 an acre. That turns into a lot of acres. That turns into food. Let's not pocket watch, but let's reevaluate when we say somebody's getting to the bag. You on mute.
This year has been real political. We had into an election year. We have a new president now. Throughout 2020, you've seen all the protesting and the marching and everybody galvanizing to vote and, to vote in and fight these societal issues using our voice. But I would like to, just highlight that farming, gardening, growing something is a very practical way, and it's a very practical answer to deal with these issues, just like voting. Like just like we had to vote, you're going to galvanize the vote to make sure that we got either whether you voted to get someone out of office or to put someone in office. We can turn to agriculture the same way to fight the systemic racism, to fight poverty, to fight hunger, to fight food security. And we need to do it, like you said, yesterday, because by 2050, they're expecting to be 50. I mean, they're expecting there to be 10 billion people on the planet by 2050. That means that the demand on the food supply is just increasing. So we need to start increasing the number of farmers that we have. For our community, we need to increase the number of Black farmers that we have. For our community, we need to increase the number of children involved in agriculture. There's a lot of money available for college. The big issue is about them, whether they're going to suspend or relieve us of our student loan debt. The middle class America is being crushed in student loan debt. I can tell you now, if you go into agriculture, you don't have to worry about the student loans. Even if you want to go into marketing, that's, you don't think of it as marketing as an agriculture job, but there are jobs in marketing in agriculture because agriculture is a business sector, and everything that every other business sector needs, agriculture needs. Lawyers, it needs the education. You need actual workforce doing the farm work, but you also need the transportation, you need the logistics. There's a wealth of jobs that we are leaving on the table in agriculture just because we either don't know about it or we have a sour taste in our mouth because of what we think agriculture is, especially in our community, because it's been soured by the taste of slavery. But agriculture was the way that our forefathers and ancestors pulled themselves out of the mud. They pulled themselves out of the mud and built economic stability for themselves through agriculture. Now, just speaking on some of the economic benefits of agriculture, we're going to look at the number one thing. The number one, in my opinion, benefit of agriculture, the economic benefit from agriculture is that you survive. That's the number one benefit, is you survive. You will be able to refuel yourself and have the energy and sustenance to thrive in life. That's what we're here for, right? We're not here to just wither up. We're trying to thrive and also have our loved ones thrive with us.
Let me
I
step out of my lane, man. Let me
what's
step
that?
out of my lane, but in lane. And so I've been meeting with this group. It's the Southwest Georgia Project, headed by the sister Shirley Sherrod. I know the people down in Georgia, especially the ag community, know Sister Shirley Sherrod. She served under President Obama, under Vilsack, the ag secretary now. And so I've been sitting on this group, and the goal of the group was to galvanize, the vote around the Georgia vote, Warnock. And it was political committee. It's working for the UN Decade Project. And, these are great people from around the country. I mean, ag all-stars. These are like national people. And the goal of it was there's 14 counties in Georgia. This is why I say I'm stepping out my lane. I'm in Kentucky, but you're down there, and I guess I'm more asking you a question. In Georgia, there's 14 specific counties in Georgia where it's rural, and this is where a lot of black farmers are. And I know I'm not the first one that thought about it, and so this is why I'm going to ask you. And so there's 14 counties that specifically the Democratic Party partners, fundraisers, we want to get these counties to go vote Democrat. We want a lot of money because you need boots on the ground. And this is work that Sister Shirley Sherrod has been doing for decades, advocating for farmers in Southwest Georgia. I know a brother down there, Sam X, and so he's in Sylvester, Georgia, but he's got a great 4-H program going. Like, I mean, production, the whole nine. And he's worldwide. He's the gourd master. And it makes me curious. Atlanta, I've been down there before. You got Brother Muhammad at the Muhammad Farms down there. And I'm wondering, what is that missing link between Atlanta being like the ultimate cultural driver of everything? And I'm skipping around. So one of the issues with this group was when people start donating money, and this is just for politics, for voting, it always goes to the city. It comes to these organizations. Remember, Booker T. Watley said, avoid the middleman like a plague.
Right.
And so what happens, a lot of political energy, a lot of economic oil goes into organizations that say we're helping to do something. And then this large group of, in the case of Georgia, 14 counties, it can get in that same water. But yet these are the landowners. These are the actual people that got land. And so say if gentrification continues in Atlanta, where do Atlanta people go? I've lived in Atlanta for a while, and I can only imagine what the food security situation is there now, with higher prices of property. But at the same time, I've been to the clubs in Atlanta. I let me not pocket watch, but, stepping outside of my lane, I wonder why this connection hasn't been made for a grassroots watering or irrigation of these rural Georgia counties, because the personnel already exists down there. I know Georgia has been especially progressive with their farm, the farm bill. And so they actually have placed a priority on ag education. Like there's bags in Georgia. I want it to happen in Kentucky, but there's bags in Georgia. I want to say it's S Bill 233.
Yes.
But look it up. And this is in Georgia. This is money that the government, that the Secretary of State, the ag said, hey, we need to invest in our future of Atlanta children and agriculture. And you look on the page, it looks like Kentucky's or Tennessee's or anybody else. It's a bunch of white kids. You might have one brown kid, one ambiguous, maybe. And, I've been fortunate to talk with some of these people personally, and they want more people involved in ag because this justifies a bag for them. And so saying that to say, with all of these areas of mutual benefit, I wonder why a city as influential or a state as influential contained in a place like Atlanta has this connection not been made yet. Because like I said, Nuri Rashid has been running an urban garden down there very successfully for, I want to say 2 decades. Why is this not something you hear your favorite rapper mention? Yeah, I turned up, got a $24 diamond. Then I stop at the Black Farmers Market while I'm rhyming. Like, why don't you hear this? Because it would seem like Atlanta, and I'm using Atlanta for example. I ain't beating up on the ATLians. If Atlanta placed a higher value, I know they got a popping farmers market down there, but if it became national culture, like, hey, the people in Atlanta that we follow their trends, social trends, what they do behaviorally, suddenly all of them are talking about farming. Suddenly all of them are talking about you ain't stunting unless you know you're a farmer. I know my farmer. I got the plug with my food. If Atlanta made that cool, not only, and I'm being practical now, that would affect those rural farmers in South Georgia, because now you would increase the consumer base. You would increase the demand for the products that they're already in position to produce. You know, we're talking about the economics of starting production, but also let's look at the political and economics of people who already have the means but don't have the support. I'm 200 miles from Atlanta, Georgia, one of the most popular, influential locations in the world. How do we make that viral in Atlanta or Georgia or North or Florida to emanate to the rest of the melanated family? Because this is where most of the black farms are. And since I've been doing this work, it baffles me. Like, this is where everybody is. And I've been to some of it's some dope farmers markets down there. I've been to some in Alabama. Why is this not the popping thing? Why have we not seen this on multiple music videos? Just the background of being in a garden. You can talk about what you're talking about, but why don't we see the imagery, you know, in Atlanta, Georgia, the coolest place in the world, of these icons who've already been putting in work? Because it would change the world overnight. Overnight.
It would, but
in my modest opinion.
You know, there's you know, without a doubt, there's a disconnect between the farmer and the people. There's a disconnect between agriculture and black people. And, you know, most people think food comes from their local grocery store. They don't understand. You know, so many black farmers have been divested of their land that there's a disconnect that, you know, we've just been we've been willingly led to become perpetual consumers.
And let me cut in real quick. I don't want to cut you off. And the ability to make it rain in Atlanta could rain on that land to keep those people from losing their land.
Right.
In turn, being able to produce something for you, possibly sell you land later when I expire. There's all of these other specific transactional relationships where the people and resources already exist. What can you pray to a God to and ask for? When everything exists, the money is like, you don't have to ask nobody for money. The times I went to the strip club, I don't think nobody was getting grants to make it rain. You know, I don't think nobody was waiting 6 months at a time, telling your whole game plan. Hopefully I can get 2,500 here. Hopefully I can get 10,000 here. No, I need $100,000 to the VIP. Just to throw. I'm not going to walk away with nothing but a good time.
See, that's the thing about what
don't pocket watch me, bro.
Well, they just go, well, you can call it pocket watching, but I think it just goes back to value. And when I say value, I'm not talking about like how much does something cost. Like, what do we actually value? And we've turned into a generation where we value false validation over realistic, attainable items or goals. Or, you know, we value likes, clicks, and things like that, but we don't value land ownership. We don't value owning all steps of the supply chain. You know, we're just happy being consumers, but we don't even look at the supply chain and the different ways we can plug ourselves into that supply chain to make money. Now, a lot of these rappers, they have restaurants. They're investing in restaurants. You know, Rick Ross has a line of, you know, rallies and wing stops and stuff like that. They're understanding, beginning to, but when we have people like Rick Ross start to like, he has a huge home on all them acres. Now, when he starts producing on them acres, you know, so now then we're gonna see something. You know, like Jay Prince, Rap A Lot Records, their CEO. Man, he has like 3,000 acres. You know what I'm saying? He has thousands and thousands of cattle, but we don't know this. Only thing
Why do we only know about music? We can't eat music.
Exactly, but he's been dealing with agriculture since he was a child. You know, most people think you have to be a dope dealer to get out the hood. Man, Jay Prince, He started his enterprise by selling pigs, literally selling pigs in the hood, because people had to eat. And so he'll sell you a pig. And you cut that up and you eat off of that for a while and you get a better deal than what you're going to get at the grocery store. Agriculture has always been a source of money and and sustenance that helps sustain us. And we have to go, and we can't forget that. You know what I'm saying? We can't value a Birkin bag more than we do an acre.
We've been told this very wrong narrative about black men that we don't work, we're lazy. Did you know in 1925, black male unemployment was lower than white male? In 1925, meaning if a black man got fired, he was more likely to get a job than a white male. We never understood that part of history, and so we have to rewind. Well, how did that dynamic exist? I thought black towns was being burnt. Keyword, black towns were being built, meaning there were always jobs. We weren't building other areas. It was only when we got a choice, okay, I don't have to put in work where I'm at. I don't have to put in work in my village, my community.
Or I'm going to value your community more than I value my own.
And to that extent, it's mental. Like I said, once again, the resources exist. As long as I've been here, your ancestors have been here, this land has been here. In a world of all of these changes, that's the only constant. We know as living beings, we're bound to this land. Being bound to the land, meaning if I'm going to live to see the next day, I need to eat from this land. And so before I can do any sort of politics, personal, communal, national, international, I need to have a better relationship with this land. When I say the things I'm saying, man, I come from a very humbled. Every day I'm more and more humbled. How did I get so far away from being a normal human? Because it's all very simple. It doesn't take a rocket science to realize if I'm dependent on anything other than my natural abilities to procure food for not only myself, but my family, there's a problem. That lets me know with this problem, there's a solution. When I realize, okay, this isn't just a Trevor problem. This is a chronic problem in the group I represent. There lies the opportunities. And you can't expect, that which benefits from this disarray to fund it. I think that's the simple math of I'm profiting off of y'all not competing with me. It's not just white people in the world. There's a world full of people that understand that food production is very important. Even if I don't want to overpower you, you ain't going to overpower me, because if I don't like what this legislation or whatever you're talking about on my island and my wherever you're at, I just won't do it because I can feed myself. I'll just shut my door. Black people in America don't have that luxury. I don't mean to get too political, but let's keep it real. There's a lot of people disappointed right now. There was a lot of vitriol spread between the black community during the election. There were gender wars. There was all sorts of these. No, y'all are Trump supporters. No, we're not Trump supporters. Well, put this group in. This group got in, and we're still almost a month in, not a single thing about black people, and even more specifically about agriculture. Like I said, I was in this Southwest Georgia group long before the presidential election, and throughout this whole discussion, ag came up maybe a few times. I think Cory Booker is on the ag committee. I'm on a few committees, bro. So I mean, what the. Yeah, I'm on a committee that we didn't have a codified, legitimate black agenda when it comes to food security and land protection. There's many organizations that have these as their core values. But once again, if I'm just an organization of 20, 30 people that understand this, but I don't have a broad community that agrees. I used to intern at the Capitol here in Kentucky. I was interning under the brother. This is when I was coming into consciousness about, Native blacks, Aboriginal blacks in America. And I remember when I first started working in his office, and this is a black man, Rep Meeks. He had all these feathers and all this Indian memorabilia around his office. Me, it's 2015, so I'm playing it political. I don't want to ask him too many questions, let me just. But I remember we went down to one of his committee meetings because he was on a few different committees. And he had brought up, talking about, I don't know if he used the word reparations, but talk about, hey, y'all gonna have to look out for the Native blacks. And that's in a very professional way. I saw how quick, I forget the technical term, how quick, I don't see nobody else here behind this that you're talking about. So we're gonna go to the next item. On the flip side, I remember, and I won't talk too much, but I want to make a point out: support makes everything. I remember one day his secretary would always send me to the different committee meetings because, I was taking notes. I'd have to research, whatever they were talking about. And I remember one day I went to the wrong room, and it's already flies in a bowl of rice there anyway at the Capitol. And I'm sitting there, I like to be early. Next thing I know it, I'm just surrounded by all these old white Masons. It was about 200 of them. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I thought this was the ag committee, but they were deep. I didn't even stay long enough to see what they were there for, but they were deep. Any day that there would be something that had to do with law enforcement, state police are there deep, 100 deep. When it had to do with teachers, they're 100 deep. When it comes to black farmers, the work has to be done just to bring black farmers together to feel like, okay, if I support this effort, I ain't gonna throw everything away. I'm not gonna lose everything dealing with these nigglets, dealing with these knuckleheads. Because I done seen these good, well-wishing people before, and I saw we almost lost everything. So there's a trust that has to be built. Like I said, in Georgia, I wasn't throwing shade. I'm making a point of why is this not like one of the biggest things in Georgia? That's one of the biggest agricultural states. That's one of the most culturally influential states. You have some of the most professional, knowledgeable people when it comes to production in Georgia. On top of you have government support of ag education in Georgia. When I do that math, it means we have to place value on this before we can realize the platinum that is sitting in front of us. This ain't gold. This is platinum. This is something that this is a wealth in front of us that our minds aren't aware of because somebody came and licked this economic plate and we said, nah, I don't want to deal with that, man. You licked it. This is the bag right here. When my children are 2. They could be 20. They could be 30 before we have a formidable size of a community to when there is legislation being pushed. We have tens of thousands of not only farmers, but consumers that like, yeah, I support this. Yeah, I'm behind these farmers. No, it's not cool for you to take this. No, I don't support this piece of legislation that's going to make this harder on them. What do they say? Money talks. And the farmer has the option to say, well, if you don't do this for me, I have a community, and let's break it down to numbers. If it's 33,000 black farmers left in North America, 33,000. They say it's what, 44 million black people? I know 100% of black people eat, so that's 44 million black people to eat. Okay, some people ain't ADOS. Some of us have other backgrounds. Some of us identify other ways. So you're never going to get everybody. That's fine. We need a critical mass of that 44 million black people in North America who are committed. Nobody has to come and tell you this ain't following behind nobody. I'm committed within my house. If I never talk to another person, see another video, I'm going to make sure I spend at least $500 a year specifically with a black producer. Specifically. Not just hair oil. No. Part of my diet, even if it isn't a lot, I'm going to make this a habit because my kids are going to watch dad, mom spending habit and they're going to see, oh, this is a thing. Just like when I grew up, before I could read, I didn't know the word shell existed. But I knew my mom went to this place to get this thing called gas. It became a thing. It became a part of my life. And so this is the very specific codified approach to gaining this wealth in agriculture. I'm not a pie in the sky person at all. And I probably seem like I'm over passionate, but I'm literally watching platinum in front of me. But at the same time, I'm watching this window close. This window that brings us closer to 2050, it's closing. If y'all don't get it together and jump on this bag to feed yourself, don't get all complex algebraic science. Do the science of feeding yourself. Train your kids to find their place within being able to feed your community, or at least a critical mass of you. If you could get 3 million of the 44 million black people to commit that I'm going to spend $500 on a black farm consistently throughout the year, $500. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but if it's 33,000 and you're making it rain, splitting it between 3 million people who spend 500, hey, somebody's not going to have to go wait for a chance that the government or somebody will grant me the opportunity to produce. Somebody will loan me something that's probably going to put me in debt. Somebody will come down and charitably, bless my little meager operation. No. If we understand it's hip hop, you claim your fame. When you get on stage, if you turn around, show any sort of, I'm kind of nervous. I got you. I got you. Our farmers, our producers, our black vendors in agriculture need that same confidence that I can do the business that I do, and regardless of what direction I'm going in, I have a community that backs me. It's a trusted community. I don't have to coerce them. I don't have to give you special discounts. No, you don't get the black discount. You know that because you believed in me as a consumer, I produce a good product. And it's worth whatever you're going to pay me for it. Stand on our work, but we have to value that collectively. A handful of people, because like I said, and I'm going to shut up, the work has already been done around the country, from Detroit, New York, Cleveland, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi,
Texas.
California. The work is going on. And so it's how do we, with this platform we have, if there's two other people that, because I heard these crazy guys talking on this B1 Ag show, man, I never thought about that. And so if that triggers you to plant a seed, whether it's for a garden or for an ag business, because all it takes is planting our minds with something. The mind is a powerful thing.
And it can lead us definitely to our freedom. It's been a great discussion today. Grow something to fight the pandemic. Literally, you can grow something. Grow some food. Grow your business. Grow your self-awareness. Grow something to fight this pandemic. You know, agriculture is an excellent avenue for us to achieve all of our dreams right through agriculture. And we have to eat anyway. So we might as well be able to supply our own needs. Just being self-sufficient. You know what I'm saying? There's power when you can refuel yourself. If you don't have to go to an outside entity to worry about whether you're going to eat or not, there's power in that. If you don't have to go to an outside entity, if you don't have to wait and hope that you can pay your electric bill, you know, to see if you're going to actually have electricity or power for your home, there's power in that. If you don't have to go buy some bottled water just so you can have something to drink, or go get a case of sodas or whatever, you know, if you can source your own water to, you know, to drink and cleanse yourself and do everything you need, there's power in that. And that's why I hope that's the value I personally want our people to see. You know, we value external things that depreciate in value so much, but we don't value things that sustain and propel life. And agriculture is definitely that. Grow something during this pandemic. Grow your knowledge. Grow the idea of self-sustainability. Literally grow something. Grow some food. You know what I'm saying? And also look at the growth that there's available in economic opportunities, job creation. It's a great opportunity right now. In this pandemic, it's a yin and yang. As bad as the pandemic is, it's a great opportunity for us to make great strides, as far as when it comes to economic and social equity. You know, we can make up a lot of ground right now. We can make up a lot of ground with a minimal effort. We can stride it out. We don't even have to run hard. All we got to do is stride it out. We can walk it out. We're talking about ATL, walk it out. We can walk it out. We can walk it out, walk the bag down. We don't even have to run to the bag. We can walk the bag down, take our time, open it up, and spend accordingly.
If Kamala Harris or Michelle Obama got on TV, said, I'm buying from a black farmer, that Pearls and Chuck's crew will go buy from black farmers.
Sure,
right? Chuck's made a lot more money, and I imagine whoever sells Pearls made some money just from this cosign. Make no mistake, people are well aware that we're intentionally not marketing this to this group.
And
I mean, it's here, but I'm not going to come knock on your door and tell you it's here.
So let's place value on agriculture. Let's place value on our farms. These farmers have a lot of wisdom. These are forgotten leaders in our community. They're a link in the chain in our community. and we need to put this chain back together so we can be stronger as a people, stronger as a unit. So, Farmer Brown, you know how we do at the end of each day. We broke a lot of bread off today. You know, I hope they sop all the gravy up with the bread and you know and have a great meal and everything. But if you really want to know something,
Learn how to grow something.
be one ag. Check you out
Right.
tomorrow.